what was your best trade? In 2 days, you made how much?
About 2 weeks ago, I made just shy of $11,000 in less than 3 minutes.
In less than 3 minutes. And this is all legally?
Yeah.
Yes, I know that. Well, hello there. You managed to join me again. It's Tyrone Jackson. Welcome back to Wealthy Investor TV, the place to be if you want to learn how to be successful trading and investing in the stock market. I have a really special guest with me here today. David Bruce has made it in.
Hey, Tyrone.
How are you?
Fabulous. Yourself?
All right. Nice to see you.
You too.
You know, I normally don't get a chance to see you this snippy and dressy when you come to class. You just jeans and t-shirt.
That's right. It's the weekend. You got to relax.
Right. But today, you're really doing it up. You look sharp.
Just for you.
All right. Well, thank you, my friend. One of the reasons I want to have you on the show is you have done so many things in your investing career. Mm-hmm. I meant to introduce you as real estate entrepreneur extraordinaire.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's pretty fancy. We're going to start with your story here. And apparently you weren't born with a stock market ticker tape in your crib. Is that right?
No. My parents told me that any money you put in the stock market, be prepared to lose.
Yes. Well, you've done quite well here. So initially, just tell the folks right at the beginning of the story, what was your best trade? In 2 days, you made how much?
About 2 weeks ago, I made just shy of $11,000 in less than 3 minutes.
Say that one more time.
Shy of $11,000 in less than 3 minutes.
In less than 3 minutes. And this is all legally?
Yeah.
Yes, I know that. Okay, so if that doesn't hook them, I don't know what is. But let's go back to your story. You were born in Rochester, New York. Is that right?
Yep. My parents still live there.
Okay.
Yep.
Tell us about that.
Not a whole lot to tell. I left as quickly as I could. As soon as I turned 18, I went to the West Coast and started building houses and eventually got interested in the film business, moved down to L.A., did that for about 7 or 8 years, met my wife, had our first child. I ended up being the house husband and take care of the kids, and that's when I got into real estate, got my license, and before you know it, that was my full-time deal. Okay, now there are always people who watch the show and go, this guy left Rochester, came to L.A., and next thing he was married, he was a real estate guy. So we're going to break it down for them. Okay.
Were your parents in the real estate business?
No. My father was an auctioneer and antique dealer. My mother was a nurse, and then she also became ultimately the accountant for his business.
Okay.
Yep.
And are you one of those people that felt called to something greater, like I should not be here in Rochester?
Yeah, I like to travel, and I had the travel bug, and that was one of the. I went to college for a couple of years. It didn't really work for me. I dropped out, and I traveled to the West Coast, and I literally hitchhiked around the West Coast for a while, and then I stuck.
Now, was there something that said go to the West Coast? Did you feel like this is someplace you were supposed to be?
I knew I didn't want to be on the East Coast where there was snow, and I think maybe I had read a little too much Jack Kerouac on the road.
Is that right?
Yeah, and once I got out here, I loved it.
Right.
I loved everything about it.
And was your first stop Los Angeles, or did you try San Francisco?
No. I ended up finishing my college degree up in Olympia, Washington, and I stuck around Washington State for a while, which is beautiful, beautiful country and great people. But I got introduced to the film business up there, and I figured I got a cheap place to live down in L.A., and a friend is going to help me get a job. So I moved to L.A. kind of literally with 2 bags in my hand and ended up like 2 days later on a Snoop Dogg video. And I was like, wow, I'm like around celebrities. I'm doing this cool stuff on set.
Yes.
And I ended up working a bunch of different things on set from, a grip, electric, transportation guy, props, the coordinator, production management. And I did everything from TV to feature-length films and union commercials and stuff like that. And then 7 years of that, I think it was 7, almost 8, is when I met my wife, Taylor, and then everything changed.
So you were more of a behind-the-scenes person in the film business.
Very much so.
And was the Snoop Dogg video your first production job?
Paying production job,
First paying production job.
Yeah.
And anybody who's ever worked on a Snoop Dogg video will understand this. Did you leave with the munchies?
No. It was a long day.
Because you know what happens on the Snoop Dogg video, right?
It was happening.
Yes, it was happening all over the place.
Yep.
The crew was like, man, this is great. All right. So after your exposure in the film business, you discovered real estate.
I did. And I took a class, and it was all about this was back in the heyday when anybody who could fog a mirror could get a loan. And it was all about leveraging 100% loans to purchase single-family homes and then turn them into rentals and just be net positive if you could, but if you broke even, it was good. And I was like, this is fascinating. So I kept I talked to my CPA, and he's like, well, why don't you just get your real estate license, and you can go build a little, nest egg of homes that become your rentals, and that'll be your retirement. And that was the dream for about 3 years, and we bought one, and I hated it. Had bad tenants. Let them go, we flipped the house, put tenants in, they didn't work out. We ended up selling it, making a nice profit. And then that was the last time I take that back. I was a landlord one other time, but I realized I didn't want to own a bunch of single family homes. And my perspective kind of shifted on what I wanted to do. And I've been studying money for a little while now. Now that I'm finally old enough to be making some decent money. Mm-hmm. And we flipped a house. We did a spec house, and it worked out really well. And I used that nest egg and turned it around. And ultimately, during this time, that was when I was starting to get exposed to the stock market because of the real estate company I had chosen to align myself with, eXp Realty. And 5 years ago, I joined them. A year into it, we went public. And it was a penny stock, but I bought a lot of it. Mm-hmm. And it has done extremely well.
Okay, so hang on now, because a lot of people watch these TV shows on, let's say, HGTV, and they go, "Oh, fixing up a house, it's easy."
Yeah.
And you know the mechanics of it. When you open up a wall, you never know what you're going to find behind that wall.
Yeah.
But having tenants is not the easiest thing in the world.
No.
Why are so many people attracted to real estate? Do you think it's because they think it's all easy money?
If they think that, as soon as they get into it, they'll realize it's not. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of moving factors. And I think that I'm pretty good at what I do because I've built houses. I've been the entrepreneur, like trying to figure out how to flip something or do the spec house or whatever. And you really have to be a jack of all trades. And especially when you're dealing with clients, they're emotional. They're maybe this is their first home purchase, or it's the most money that they've ever spent on anything. So you also get to be part psychologist or psychiatrist. Which one's the one that prescribes drugs?
Yeah, it's a psychiatrist.
Okay, thank you. So
back to the Snoop Dogg video. There's a reference there somewhere.
No, but you know what I mean,
Right.
where you're really counseling somebody. And I love that when it's going well, right? Mm-hmm. And so you have to have a thick skin in this business too. It's very competitive.
Okay. Now, you also started, are you developing real estate, or is that a project you're working on now?
I'm going to do my own home. I'm going to knock down my own home and build it from scratch and build like the thing that we're going to give our kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to tell tales out of school, but you've done very well in the stock market.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Well, listen, I'm here to help, right?
Yeah.
I'm here to help.
Yeah.
So let's start that part of your journey, because that's what most people are really interested in. Mm-hmm. So you bought this penny stock that went public.
Well, actually, I did buy some, but I was also awarded it as agents within the company. You're awarded stock options. They have to vest for a little bit of time, but for production levels as well as introducing other agents into the company. And when I joined, I was number 256. We just crossed 5,000 agents, and there's no end in sight. It's pretty wild. And I was fortunate enough to buy a bunch of stock in the beginning. What do they call it? Tenfold. It went up 1,000%. Mm-hmm. I took my profits, I reinvested, and I'm in the process of taking profits again and reinvesting. And it's not a quick, what do we want to call it? I guess it's more of a buy and hold. That's my buy and hold stock because it's done so well for me and helped me build my nest egg. And then there's the stuff that I actively trade. Okay. And that's more fun because I like to click buttons.
Now, your journey, I don't even remember where we met. You somehow found your way into the Wealthy Investor Program. Was that through some friends in Los Angeles?
Darcy.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, so Darcy and my wife have been friends for years.
Okay.
And she apparently, I think the story is she was with you like a whole year studying before she even placed a trade. And she knew I was on this path to like take over my retirement accounts and manage it myself instead of paying my broker and all that kind of stuff. And she she invited me to your class, and I was like a kid in the candy store.
Really?
Oh man, I was like, I was all in.
Okay.
All in. Like the next day I was placing trades.
People know if it's for them. How did you know that stock market trading was for you?
It fits with the lifestyle that I want in the future and that I want for myself now. I've never been a 9-to-5 guy, a little bit here and there, but it just doesn't fit my personality. I like being able to call my own shots, do my own thing, and not have a boss. And my goal is that when my kids are old enough to go away to college, that we retire. And we retire anywhere we want in the world, and I can make money on a laptop as long as it's, I'm adjusting for the time difference for the stock market, right?
Right.
And that's ultimately how I would like to earn my money. and live off of.
Now, I preach the gospel, some people have said, of long-term wealth and residual income. In other words, we're making money in the market every single month. Was it the potential of what could be in the end in terms of the wealth, or was it the idea that you could be making $5,000 every month and, as you say, not have a boss and be on your own?
Yes, I wanted to make money every single month, but what I think hooked me was I placed 2 trades. One on I won't say what the stock is, but one very steady eddy, and I made $200 or something. And the other one that was a little more volatile, and I made like $1,500. And I was like, all right, there's something to this, because the broker I was paying to manage my funds had lost $3,000 in a year. And I was down. I'm like, I just made up half of that, like in just a couple minutes. I was hooked. Hooked, man. It was like, this makes so much sense. And it's easy if I make sure that I stay in discipline and I listen to what you have to say, because I'm the first one that wants to break the rules just because it's my nature.
Right. So you discovered covered call writing first.
Yep.
What was your first impressions of covered call writing?
Easy money. And then trying to figure out, well, what's the downside? And I learned that the downside can be protected, and also you can still make money when there is a downside.
Right.
So it's kind of the principle of what I do to bring in funds, and then the options and all the other stuff. That's the fun stuff. That's the stuff that I love to learn.
Yeah, we're going to talk about your skills as an options trader, because you've learned to follow discipline there too, right?
Finally,
it takes a little while. Everyone, when I first teach options, everyone goes, "You can make how much money?" And greed totally sets in. And then when you calm down, you realize this is a game really about consistency.
Yes, and I think that I've learned a lot of it's mindset. I would say 80 to 90% of it is mindset, because I would get really nervous about pushing that button and spending that money. And then suddenly the amount that I would spend when I pushed the button would not really matter anymore. It's just kind of I know the fundamentals. I know what I'm doing has sound principles. I've done this over and over again. Tyrone's there if I need help. And I just push the button. And even like when I had that big day where I made almost $11,000, I was not emotional about it. I mean, I was a little happy inside, but I was also just kind of like, okay, what's next?
It's so funny, because I find the big money happens in trading once you calm down.
Yeah, that took me a long time.
Yeah, once you get past, because it's very exciting. It's an exciting thing to do. And if you're from a middle class or working class family, very often people experience the feelings that are like, you better hurry up and make as much money as possible, because this might not be here tomorrow. It's all fear, right?
Yeah.
And the market's been around longer than you and I, and when we are no longer here, it'll still be here. So you have found that same thing, that when you calm down, then you can really focus on consistency, right?
Yes, and I've learned that, I think you said in the class, it really kind of hit me. It was an aha moment where it was, clicking too much as a middle class mentality, right? And I realized I had been spending so much time trying to place all these trades where I really just need to simplify it. And I'm still making the same amount of money, if not probably more. And it's easier. It's less for me to track.
And also, I'm always fascinated by the idea of, you getting a financial education and the impact on your kids. Now, you have 2 sons, right?
I have a son and a daughter.
A son and a daughter.
Yeah.
And what have you taught them about trading? Because it's normal for them to see dad at the computer making money, right?
Yeah. There's an upside and a downside.
Okay.
The upside is I sat down and I was like, do you guys want to be a millionaire by the time you're 45? If you do you think you could earn $300 every week? I'll show you what you need to do, and you just need to consistently do it, and you'll be a millionaire before most people. Like, yeah, that's great. Okay, I understand the concept. Are they interested? No, because then the downside is they turn around like, well, you just made $1,000 on that, blah, blah, blah. I want an iPhone.
Right.
Give it to me, Dad.
Yeah.
So, you got to be careful about what you share with them, I guess.
Well,
sometimes.
funny, I had the same experience. My daughters know how to trade. And my older daughter sent me something from YouTube. She was like, Dad, why don't you go buy that Tesla, the brand new Tesla, like Friday? And I was thought, it's a $100,000 car. I was like, why would my daughter think that I could just simply go buy a Tesla by Friday? She goes, well, you trade options and stocks, don't you?
Yep.
Like, go get that money and go get that car. So, she skipped the part about commitment, dedication, actually learning fundamentals of stocks, because when they see us doing it with so much ease, why should they take the time to learn? That's the downside.
But they also don't see that you're disciplined and I'll spend probably about an hour a day if it's a trading day. If I wake up and I'm like, I got to figure something out. Not only do I place a trade if I find one, I'm just studying stuff, just looking to see where things are moving and how they're correlating, so that it fills my brain, so that I can make a better decision later down the road. The kids don't see that; they just see, oh, you made X amount of dollars.
Right.
You know?
They say a good point. We got to make things a little bit harder for them at somewhere down the line. We'll
Absolutely.
talk about that. They say with couples, the number one argument is sex and money, right? The money part flowing, from the real estate and certainly from the stock market. Would you say that has a positive impact on your marriage?
Oh God, yeah. My wife has a business and she works in the film business as well, and she loves what she does. But it's also nice knowing that there's a secondary income, not only from my real estate career, but like and also just from the stock stuff. Like I'll send her a little text every once in a while, like, "Hey, honey," like today I was, "Hey, honey, $774 today in the cash account. Woohoo!" And she likes that kind of stuff. She's like, "Any money's good money."
Yes.
Keep doing it.
Yeah, most wives do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's just kind of the way that it goes.
Yep.
Hey, listen, we got to take a commercial. When we come back, I want to talk about what you've learned on the option side of things, trading around earnings, using sophisticated trades like bull call spreads, bear call spreads, and some of the other things that we do in the Wealthy Investor Program. So don't go anywhere. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back right after you take a look at this. My first really big trade, I made $1,500 in like 72 hours. It wasn't so much that the $1,500 was going to set me free financially. It's that I could do that every single week. And if I could learn a system that was consistent, you're at $6,000 per month, $70,000 a year, I was hooked. But I always remember where it begins. And that's what I teach people to do in the Wealthy Investor Program. I was very afraid when I first started teaching online and we launched WI Trade School because I couldn't see people, right? So people are logging in, they're watching all my major strategies, they're sending me questions, I'm answering their questions, I'm giving them new trades every single week. But the emails that we get are just amazing. Thank you, you've changed my life. And to me, that is like the greatest thing. We're one of the fastest growing subscription-based websites for stock market trading on the internet, period. All you have to do is follow my trades and celebrate your success. And welcome back to Wealthy Investor TV. I am here with one of my favorite students, Mr. David Bruce, who we refer to as DB. We were talking during the commercial about getting a financial education and trading being a group sport. A lot of people think that they should just be off trading alone at home and you can do very well. To that notion, you say what?
Get an education. Not even just get an education, invest in one. I read a lot. I like to educate myself. I'm a curious human being. But I wouldn't be trading at the levels that I am right now if I weren't accountable to doing the work, practicing with people, coming to class, listening to what you have to say, and then, mulling it around and making my own decision too. But it's really important. It's like I have to be accountable to a coach, you're the wealth coach, right? In order to, I think, be successful and be better at where I'm currently trading at.
Now, one of the things I love about your story is not only your success on the stock side, it's also on the option side. Now, I teach people how to trade LEAPs, long-term equity anticipation securities, and you are really graduating yourself to more and more contracts. Obviously, it's very lucrative, right?
Yeah, I love it.
You don't do a lot of sophisticated trades. You don't do a lot of bear call spreads and calendar spreads. You prefer just the LEAP contracts alone.
I'll work into more spreads. I've done several, but right now I like the guaranteed income from cover calls. I love the LEAPs because we're picking some real winners right now, and I've upped my game to make sure that I'm taking profits in a larger format. When you're trading 10 LEAPs versus 1 or 3, once I started seeing the compounding effect of that, I was like, wow, this is really sexy. Yeah, and then volatility trading when volatility is present. That's super fun for me.
Are you one of these people that will automate your trades, or you can check in and be disciplined enough to take your profit?
I don't automate LEAPs, but I do automate volatility trading.
On shares?
Yeah.
Oh, so when you could be owning the leaps and the shares and have a volatility trade on both?
Yes, I usually do.
Really?
Yeah, but what I like though is the guaranteed, selling the stock for X amount once it goes up. I don't even pay attention to it anymore. But what I get excited about is I wake up in the morning, I'm like, where are my leaps at? Mm-hmm. Like today, it was fun waking up.
Oh, wasn't it? Today was really a great day. Bid-ask spreads. Was that difficult for you to learn that if the bid-ask spread is more than 25 cents, you have to do the derivative math on the leaps?
No, once you get after you do a little bit of practicing, it really makes perfect sense. And as long as I just keep, staying in discipline and doing. It's funny. I was saying something to my wife. I'm like, maybe I should do this trade and this, that, and the other. And she's like, what would Tyrone say?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm in your home no matter what's going on.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, this is the thing that I'm asking all of my students, especially, with the show and the success of the show and all that. A lot of people really get stuck on trading penny stocks. And I always say, if you learn how to trade leaps on Dow stocks and S&P 500, the world is really yours. You don't need to trade anything on the pink sheets. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I have traded it and I've done well with some penny stocks, but that's because it's my industry and my company EXP that makes, and I know it so closely well that it does well for me, but I wouldn't recommend it for anybody unless you had the knowledge that I do in the history with this company. I think that the leaps are fun because it's a great form of leverage. And it's amazing how fast something can move, and it's just a load of fun.
Well, that's the other thing. A lot of times guests come on the show and we wind up talking about the technical aspects of trading, but it is a lot of fun. It's still, I feel lucky every week, every day that I have this knowledge and I'm able to really pass it on. Mm-hmm. Let's just talk about your goals and your future. You also trade in your retirement account.
Yeah, in several actually.
Okay. And do you follow the sweep? Or are you still also using leaps?
I made a mistake and I did the cycle for quite a while.
Right.
And then I caught wind of that. I mean, year and a half into the program, I'm like, I've been doing this wrong,
Right.
So I reallocated and changed everything, and I'm being much more successful with the trading in the retirement accounts.
Yeah, because I think that my view is the cycle in the retirement account, which is a trade that we do that makes money every single week. I think you wind up spending too much in commission. And since there's no margin, right, it's just...
Yeah.
You're giving your broker a lot of money instead of, trading once or twice in a month.
Yeah, so the sweep is a lot easier because I can set it and really only check it twice a month maybe.
Right.
And then execute extra trades. And it's more efficient from a fee standpoint.
Mm-hmm. And there's somebody watching this episode right now, somewhere in the world going, oh, of course it could happen for him. He has the mind for it. He was a real estate guy. That kind of money could never really happen for me. What do you say to them to give them some kind of encouragement?
Then I guess you're right.
Is that right?
Who was it, Henry Ford, that says, either, I can't remember the quote, but either you think you're right or you think you're wrong, either way.
Yeah, you are correct.
Yeah, and if I'm the kind of guy like, somebody says, well, that can't be done. I'm like, well, then get out of my way because I'm doing it.
Right.
And I think that if you need to have the belief in yourself that you can elevate your position, but as long as you have a coach, as long as you have somebody who's guiding you, because you don't want to just be out there willy-nilly picking stuff unless you really have an education.
Mm-hmm. Final 3 words of advice or pieces of advice for people who like to trade options. Everybody thinks that they want to trade options, but you've graduated yourself quite nicely. What 3 pieces of advice would you give them?
Study and invest in the education. Don't be emotional about it. There's a lot of emotion when your money is riding on a click of a button or two. And I think if you just make sure that you stay in your mindset of, I know the principles. Like I said before, Tyrone's there to help me if I need help. But really just try to just you think it through. Don't necessarily feel it through, because when you're feeling it, you're super emotional about it and you can make mistakes. I certainly have in the past. Mm-hmm. Feeling is great for other things. Trust me, don't get me wrong.
Right.
And then a third piece of advice for somebody trading options, God, what did I say before? I can't remember.
We'll go with those two because that's really good. I think a lot of people try to watch this show or maybe listen to the podcast and think, I'll pick up bits and pieces and I'm good on my own. And they don't know anything about theta, time decay, delta, in the money, out of the money, intrinsic value. Like all of those factor into your decisions.
You know what? A third thing that would be great is work your way into it. Get some other guaranteed ways to bring in income like covered calls before you just start jumping into leaps. Because I remember the first couple of leaps I placed, I was scared to death. I didn't know if I was doing it right or blah, blah, blah. And then after you do one or two, you can graduate. You get better at it.
Right. So baby steps.
Absolutely.
I can't thank you enough for being here, sharing your experience. That wasn't too painful, was it?
No, not at all. Quite fun, thank you.
Yeah, well, it's not as much fun as the money that you're making, but at least you'll be inspiring someone that we know for sure. Come back and see us again?
Absolutely, anytime.
All right, thank you. All right, that'll do it for us here at Wealthy Investor TV. Hey, listen, make sure you subscribe. Click that subscribe button right below. If you're watching us on YouTube, if you're watching us somewhere, just make sure that you watch as many episodes as possible. Why? These are real people who come on the show just like you, and they're making thousands and thousands of dollars trading stocks online consistently. Hey, listen, that'll do it for me, Tyrone Jackson, the Wealthy Investor, saying your wealth is in your thinking. Stay positive, and positive things will happen. Happy trading. Hey, it's Tyrone Jackson, the Wealthy Investor, and I know something about you. You're always wondering what stock should you trade and what stock should you invest in. That's why you can follow my trades every single week at witradeschool.com. You see, at WI Trade School, I help people just like you make money in the stock market. Whether the market goes up, goes down, or stay the same. And one of the benefits of becoming a WI Trade School member is I'll answer your trading questions every single week in my video blog. Now, the best thing about WI Trade School, you have access to it 24 hours a day as long as you have an internet connection. So log on to witradeschool.com or click below and I'll see you there. It's time for me to help you make money in the stock market right now. Wait, don't go so fast. Make sure you click the subscribe button below. If you want to see more Wealthy Investor TV and hot stock tips from me, the Wealthy Investor, subscribe to my channel right now. That way you'll automatically get a notification when I post a new video right here. You see the subscribe button? Don't be shy. Click it now. All right.